All right, so we know we have a service, a controller that is available that is exposing a data model for us, that it's returning as an array of objects. We want to do this programmatically, right? Not manually like we're doing it. All right, so to do that, we're going to, from our controller here, from our components, our jQuery component, we want to try and see if we could fetch that data, right, on load, right here when we load it. Right, so let's try and do that. So to do that, jQuery declares a function, a global function on jQuery, right, called Ajax. Right, Ajax. Right, Ajax is a function that tells the browser, "Hey, browser, I know you know how to download all sorts of stuffs, right? You know how to go fetch JavaScript from over there and CSS from a Bootstrap CDN." And you know how to download images from somewhere else and fonts from Font Awesome. You know how to go and fetch stuff from the network. I know you know how to do that, yes? Well, here's something I want you to go fetch for me. Okay? Here's a URL. I'm going to give you a URL. Go and fetch this for me. And when it's ready, call me back and let me know. Yes? That technique of JavaScript delegating fetching data from the network, delegating this task to the browser is referred to as Ajax. Okay? Ajax has a fairly complex protocol on how it's handled. Right? jQuery has simplified it for us. Okay? You're encapsulated in a very, very simple way of doing it in this one function, Ajax. Very, very powerful. All right? So let's try and do it. So Ajax takes as argument a couple of things. One thing that it takes is the URL. Where do we want to go fetch these things? Okay, and so let's declare a URL. We're going to say const find all users URL. And the URL is, that's the URL. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it here. That's the URL. Yes? Okay, so that's the URL we want. Very good. Okay. The other thing, the second argument that it takes here is a JSON object, a configuration object, right? And that configuration object allows us to, for instance, let us know what to do when the data comes back. What do you want to do when the data comes back? How do I notify you? How do I tell you, hey, here it is. Here's your data. All right. To configure that, the JSON object is we configure an element called success, and then the value of that success is the function we want to call. The function we want to call, we want to be notified when the data comes back. All right. So here we're going to handle users. Right, so there will be a function that we can call is going to be notified, call handle users, that will be notified. So let's do a function here. It says handle users, and what we get back from the server, right, is some kind of response from the server. And we're going to just do a console log. Let's see what the response is. All right, well, let's try it out. Let's go back to our user admin. Let's look at our console. We've got a console, and we're going to look at the network, and we're going to, well, I guess the console. We can do a refresh, and we were denied. Why are we denied? Oh, because I'm running from localhost. That's what it is. See what this is? This looks as localhost 63342 because I ran it from my IDE. And the browser says, wait a minute, you're running in one domain and you're trying to access some other domain. That's a security violation. All right? No problem. We can navigate from our local host. We know we can navigate to that same directory. What's it called? Where is it? It's user main something admin and admin HTML. Very good. We can navigate to that same file right here. There it is, right? So now we are in the same domain. In the same domain, so it did not complain. Let's look at the inspect console. There it is, an array of 3 objects, right? An array of 3 objects. And there they are. See the data? That data came from the server, and we just printed it at the console. Right? So that data that was on the server is now in my JavaScript. Right? It's in my JavaScript. What could I do with that? I could iterate over this. Right? I could iterate over this and insert it as in my DOM. Right? So let's do that. Let's refactor this a little bit. Let's see. We have this create user. Create user is a little bit kind of weird, right? Because it's look at this. It's reading it only from the input fields, right? From the input fields. Perhaps and notice that it's mixed in with the creation and cloning, right? And then adding it to the DOM. We might want to break this up a little bit, right? The create here user might want to handle the create button, yes, but then perhaps we want to break this out into a separate function, right? That actually adds it to the DOM, yes. So let's break it up a little bit. Perhaps we can break this up and say, let's see, maybe we can say, put this in a separate function. We'll call it function append user to DOM, right? And the nice thing is that this could take as an argument would be perhaps a user object, yes? A user object that has a username, a password, a first name, a last name. That would be nice, right? So we can just grab this here. We can grab this, all of this, right? And then copy it over here. And then grab the username, the column, whatnot, everything, clone, yada 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 yada. And this username really is part of the user object, right? User password, user first name, user last name, first name, last name, yada yada yada, all those, right? Okay. Now this create user, we can rewrite it. We can rewrite it so that we can call this append user. We can call it with a user object. So user object const user object is an object that has a username equal to the username. It has a password equal to the password, and the first name equal to the first name. All right, so that's just good software engineering, right? We can now call the append user to DOM, and we can pass the user object as an argument. Right, so this so that our create button still works, yes, right? But now that I have this append user to the DOM, in a separate function, now I can call it. I can call it, right, from my handler, because my handler, this response is an array of users that has the same schema, right? Same username, first name, last name, password, username, has everything. I could just iterate over this. So I know these are users now. I know that these are users. Right? I can iterate over these. I can say for, I can say users for each, and we have user. Oh, this is ES6. Sorry. We'll do ES6 next week. We'll do for, how do I do it with not ES6? Users, user in users, maybe, yeah. So I should be able to just call append user to DOM, and this would be user? No, that's not. Does that work? Well, let me try it. Let me do a console log user. Let's see. No, that's an index. Yeah. So this is so I in user, and so this is user sub I. There we go. Okay, I'm printing it. So instead of doing console, we can just say append user to DOM. So if we refresh, notice that indeed we have Alice, Bob, and Charlie came from where? From the server, right? This came from the server. So that means that I really don't even need I don't even really need any of these, right? Well, actually, no, I still need the template. I still need the template, right? I still need the template. So we can remove this Bob down here. We could probably, so the first one is still my template, but that template is kind of bogus, right? It's sitting there only for use for my template. It's not being used for anything else. It shouldn't be being shown in there, right? So what we could do is just not show it, right? We could say, we could style it. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. Let's see, class. What is it? None. Okay. All right. So that's going to hide it. Now the problem here is that probably everything's still there. It generated it, but everything has now that class. Right. So even though it appended it to the DOM, everything has that class. Let's see, table, tbody. There they are. Right. They're appended, but they all have the dnone. See that? Right. So what we could do is just remove that class, right, on these particular ones that we just appended. Yes? All right. So let's do that. You know, as we append, there it is. There's the clone. Where's my clone? There's my clone. We can say, hey, clone. I can remove class dnone. Remove the class only on the ones that are being cloned. Right? So if we refresh, notice that now we only have those three that are showing, but the template's still there. Yes? It's just not showing because it's being hidden with display none. Yes? Yeah. Templates is the basis of everything else we're going to be doing. What React does and Angular, right? They use snippets of HTML as the template, right? And then they strategically load the templates when they need, right? They go fetch the templates, and then they use it to dynamically render everything else. Yep. Obviously, it's not as crude as what we're doing here, right? There's an entire layer of abstraction around that. But yes, behind the scenes, this is what's happening.
Does it make sense to, like, on the create button, to create it on the front end and then write it to the back end simultaneously, or does it make more sense to, like, write it to the back end and then render the whole thing?
Yeah. So there's some caching. It depends on the use case, right? If you're the only user who's manipulating this data model, then you can be pretty sure that you can safely add it to your local DOM, right? And then lazily notify the server and say, hey, server, hey, just to synchronize the fact that my DOM looks like this and that I am storing it permanently on the server, that's fine. If instead you're working on something that is shared amongst multiple people, right? It would be you could be working with a stale copy of whatever it is that you're looking at, right? If you're working simultaneously here and over there, right, it would be unsafe to just work with a local copy or local cache, right? So ideally, then you would need a more chattier API, right? You send the data, and then you get back the data with the latest changes from everybody else, right? So that you always have the latest. Or you can get even more sophisticated, where whenever somebody makes a change, it notifies everybody else using WebSockets or something like that, so that everybody is, if you have a game or something, or you're working on like Google Docs, right? And you can have 3, 4, 5 people working on the same. Everybody has to be notified and synchronized all the time, right? So that's much more sophisticated. But yeah, depending on the use case, you could do it lazily, right? Or you can cache your changes over time, and then every minute perhaps send your changes to the server. It depends how critical the data that you're dealing with. All right. All right. Excellent. Right, well, how about like somebody was suggesting, we want to be able to delete things and change things and whatnot. Let's work on delete. We know that delete here is working on the client, right? But this hasn't actually been removed, right? It hasn't actually been removed. It's still there on the server. Notice that I refreshed the page and it went to fetch the data again from the server, and it came back and it rendered it. So if we want to permanently delete it, we need to go and tell the server, hey server, this person is no longer with us. Okay? We need to be able to handle those kinds of things, right? So we're going to refactor the delete a little bit here. All right, so let's do that next.